Well, it's nuts, but the whole situation that we're in is nuts. It's nuts that we're talking about hitting the debt ceiling and putting the government in a situation where it'll be unable to pay approximately 40% of its bills on any given day. And what the trillion-dollar coin is yes, it's a gimmick, but it's a gimmick that allows us to avoid a situation where the government goes into default and severely disrupts the economy.
And James, a situation where the government can avoid a default, it sounds a bit like quantitative easing, doesn't it?
Well, perhaps on the surface. And first of all, that segment gave it, treated this with all the seriousness it deserves, which is not a lot. Listen, all these options, other than raising the debt ceiling, are really bad. I don't think this is a benign option. And by discussing it, I think it makes it sound like it's palatable, like it would be no big deal. And therefore, I think it raises the odds of something like this happening. Republicans would love for the president to try this, because I think it would be a political disaster, which means the odds are increasing that we go over this, past this borrowing limit, which I think would be really bad for the image of the United States of America and confidence in our way of government.
Josh, that's a fair point, isn't it? I mean, I know you've got your problems, but you're the world's biggest economy, and this is a gimmick, as you concede, and it would make America look like a bit of a laughingstock.
Well, I agree with James that the best course of action would be to simply raise the debt ceiling, and I hope he'll go speak with his Republican friends and urge them to pass a clean debt ceiling increase so that we can avoid any of these gimmicks. I do think that there are drawbacks to using the platinum coin. The problem is that there are drawbacks to all the other options that actually appear to be on the table politically. The Republicans are going to attach a ton of demands to a debt ceiling increase, most likely some sort of spending cuts, although they haven't said exactly what. We don't need short-term fiscal austerity right now. That'll be bad for the economy, but more broadly, it sets a bad precedent. It says that Republicans or any party in government will be able to effectively hold the economy hostage and say, we will force you into a terrible crisis unless you give in to our policy demands on this issue. It's a misuse of the debt ceiling, and and what the president can do by threatening to issue the platinum coin is make clear that he's not going to play that game, and I think actually makes it more likely in the end that we'll get a debt ceiling increase that's clean.
But James, I mean, you've said it would make America look rather ridiculous, but I have to say that, the greatest economy in the world solving its problems on New Year's Eve with a clock ticking and the prospect of jumping over a fiscal cliff didn't really look like serious politicians trying to sort out the biggest economy in the world.
Are you saying that we have nowhere further to fall? That we're already at rock bottom reputationally? Perhaps, but listen, there are real downsides to this. For instance, you would basically be forcing the Federal Reserve into action to offset this so it doesn't cause a bout of hyperinflation or at least higher inflation. So basically you'd be hurting the independence of our central bank, which is pretty important. Again, I would tell my friends on both sides of the aisle, yes, we need to fix our social insurance system, our Medicare, Social Security, as well as raising the debt ceiling.
But James, do you concede that this idea is, however, legally possible? It could actually happen, couldn't it?
Well, listen, that certainly was not the intent of the original legislation.
True.
It was really about collectibles. So, but do I think it is legally? It might act. Listen, you want to talk about uncertainty? Let this go to the Supreme Court. Let's have a Supreme Court ruling on the gazillion-dollar coin, and we'll see how the markets. They better have that decision come after the markets close.